All right, everybody, we're going to call this meeting to order here on Monday, November 10th. And to lead us off, do we have any public testimony? Shay? No? All right. So first off, we have our monthly permit report with Tammy Palmquist.
No clicker? Oh. Good morning. Thank you. All right, so October was pretty good, issued 35 million in projects, so we're at almost 400 million for the year. We issued 39 housing units in October. We still have 1,171 in plan review. 456 of these are approved pending issuance. Sorry. For the second straight year, the median single-family resident job values have decreased. So smaller houses, hopefully a sign of more middle housing getting built. But values are still up above. So let's see. Total applications are down a little bit this year. We had llama training a couple weeks ago in October. It was really well attended. So from all the departments, both outside, we had training station out at the fire station or fire training academy. So we think that just about everybody who's going to touch llama did have some opportunity to engage. We did videotape all of those trainings, and so they'll be available for people to go back and refer to and continue to go through their testing. We are continuing to work on our configuration and how llama ties in and works with our financial system, and we're tweaking that. We did want to go live in November. We still have some things that we need to work on, so we're going to push that out until we feel confident that we're delivering a system to the public that is going to work and not have bugs or have things happening on the back end that may not work appropriately. We're okay with that. I think staff feels good about that, making sure that we're giving a good product out to the public and not something that could complicate. Or the other thing is, since we're dealing now with a lot of end-of-year renewals, we don't want half the people to renew in Acela and then it gets switched over and half the people have to figure out how to renew in the new system, and then what gets brought over. So I think that makes us confident that waiting is the right thing. We don't want to complicate anything that's already complicated for the public, and that was something that we heard. So we are continuing to work on it, refine it, test, train, provide staff with all of the resources that they need to feel good about the system when it goes live.
Tammy, before you go, could you go back to the former slide, please? I think I was the 18% decrease in square footage. So you think that's would be a new right sizing for homes?
Well, we are seeing more of that middle housing, so unit sizes are smaller. So when you get multiple units on a property as opposed to just one or larger single family home, you'll see that overall square footage go down. And I think that's what we've been seeing. As I've said, I think a couple of months ago, the typical residential single family permit volume has decreased. And so we're seeing more of those mixed units.
Thanks.
Okay, here you can see the total permit applications. So we're holding pretty steady. These are total permit applications issued. So again, down a little bit, but still still in the ballpark. Total construction permits issued. Total inspections, again, these are down just a little bit, but pretty consistent with the last 4 years. And multifamily housing units, Lyons Family was one that was done in October. So that'll be good to get that one going. And again, this is a lot that we still have a bunch of multifamily that's been approved, but it has not been issued. So waiting for those. Pros is a big one to get that one started. And here you can see single family. So single family is still down a little bit. But again, this is where we're seeing that offset in the middle housing. So we're seeing more of the fourplexes and the duplexes come in. And so that equates to the lower square footage. We have 45 single families in plan review right now. So here you can see, duplexes are on the rise. We've had quite a few more this year than last year, so catching up to 23. Multifamily down a little bit, but again, this is where they're still stuck in they've been approved but not issued. That's 827 units are stuck in that. Not stuck, just waiting.
Question, so obviously up here when we say duplex units, we're counting units, not duplexes, right? So, so really, we're still far, even if you're going to add those up into sort of a single-family bucket, we're still a pretty far ways away from where we were. And so based on what's in the hopper, how many do you believe that we're actually kind of shooting towards in terms of total numbers of those duplexes or tries and quads?
I don't have the number of duplexes in, but we do have 45 single families in review right now.
Okay.
I can get you what we have in review right now for duplexes.
That'd be great. And for Boca as well, so the tries and quads would be great.
Okay.
Councilman Bingle, may I ask Tammy, do you have a geographic area where these single-family homes are being built? Or
They're all over.
all over? I know if there was a specific area of town that was seeming to be more attractive to those single-family homes than others.
I can have them charted out and show you, but the last time I looked at any heat maps, it was pretty spread out through the city. Okay, certificates of occupancy. So we're getting, for single-family residences, 245, or 44. So we're getting a lot that were permitted previously are coming, to completions, families moving into them. Let's see. Garden District Apartments, that was a significant CO that was issued last month. That was for Building 5B. And then this was the one that we sort of touched on last month. And I think we're still looking at a way to kind of tell this story the easiest way possible. But not a lot of change from last month. And this just kind of shows the projection to get to that. So this is what's currently, okay, so this goes back to what's currently in review. So we've got 60 single family, 12 duplexes, 956 multifamily residences. So that would be kind of any of that fourplex or above. So some big ones that are approved pending issuance are Pros, Noto Normandy, Peyton, Red Band, Vistas Townhomes, that's 46 units. Lions is 24, and Broadway Apartments is 18. And then through MFTE and Predev, there's another 1,800, almost 1,900 that we should be seeing coming in for projects. Here you can see some of those values. We're excited to get Adams Elementary out the door now. They've been sort of in a holding pattern, but that'll be a good one. That's a $26 million project. Public and private job values, again, we're a little bit down, but last year was sort of above average because of Jubilant. Spokane Airport Administration Building, the Spokane Water Department Admin Building, STA roof replacements, Hall A retractable curtains. Those were all big projects in the public sector this year. And here's largest projects issued by construction valuation this year. Spark Recovery was a good one. That was a $7 million project, and Touchmark Assisted Living Remodel was a $3.9 million project. And then here are projects that are in plan review. Again, the asterisk means they're approved, just waiting issuance. The Sacred Heart Medical Center Heart Institute TI was a $4 million, and Adams Tractor, which is in plan review right now, is a $3.5 million. And then Madison and Sharp multifamily is 40 units and a $5 million, and that was approved just on the 27th of October. Any questions?
Thank you. I think the district is 1 and 2, not 1 and 3 for number 8. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, this is awesome to see.
All right, if there's nothing else, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
All right, Eldon, we got a couple from you. Come on down.
How about St. Agnes? Items 2 and 3 on the docket, good afternoon, but items 2 and 3 on the agenda are related to the St. Agnes project that Catholic Charities is building out there off 7th Avenue and Government Way. So the area in green on the map is one we had easements on when we vacated Audubon Street years ago. And then the blue is 7th Avenue, which is another one we just vacated not too long ago. They need to actually release easements on those two to actually help build on the site. You can see on the map there, we showed 2 proposed buildings up there. And as far as actual construction on the site, it would help them out immensely to actually reduce the easement size. We can fully release the one in green, and the one in blue, we can release the northern portion of it, but reserve the last 20 feet that are cross-hatched on there. So we worked with the utility providers to actually agree to that, but that's what that's all about. It's part of the development of the 48 new affordable housing units out there. So be happy to answer any questions on that one. The next
think
one
you're
up is 13th Avenue. What this is you can see that little white area that's in the triangle on the north side of 13th Avenue there. That's a water booster station that we have, and the city's proposing we need to increase the size of that booster station. So what we're proposing to do is vacate 13th Avenue. We did get signatures from the property owner on the south side, and there again, that project would actually just increase the size of the footprint to be able to expand that existing booster station for water service to the southwest part of the city and the West Plains. That's what that one's all about. We are looking at a no-cost vacation on that just because it's a city project and we do have a property owner on the south side, but we felt it was appropriate to actually not charge for a city project to expand our service. So that's part of the recommendation. We did get, like I say, signatures on both sides. So one of the other conditions is we'd get rid of the curb returns and stuff that go into 13th Avenue. It's an unimproved street. So there's closure work that we would do as part of the vacation. But other than that, that's what that project's all about. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Eldon.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, yep. All right, next up, I think it is Spencer, if you want to come on down. Amendments to Title 17 relating to public notice of planning and land use actions.
Good afternoon, Council. This is a proposal that was recently the subject of a Plan Commission hearing. Plan Commission recommended approval, so the findings are in your packet. And let's see, can I control the slides here? There we go. So we wanted to solve a couple of existing problems in our code related to the way that we do public notice. In particular, there are some sections where we see duplicate requirements and potentially in some cases minor differences in the way that those requirements apply depending on the situation. That just led to confusion about how to proceed with noticing. The requirements also just aren't very well organized, and in some cases it's kind of unclear what exactly applies in a given situation. So there's also mixed in with those noticing requirements is other procedural steps that don't relate to noticing. So we just wanted to go through kind of a cleanup of our code. The other piece here is that our newspaper noticing requirements are exceed what's required in state law, and so we wanted to take a look at those noticing requirements. So there's three different, I guess I call them practice areas, or three different topics that are impacted by the proposed noticing changes. The first is project-specific permits. So this would be for plats, for example, or for building permits. The second is development code amendments. These are amendments to Title 17. And the third are comp plan amendments, changes to our comprehensive plan. We'll go through each of those one by one. So on project permits, again, these are like plats or building permits. The proposal is that we remove newspaper notice from demolition permits and grading permits. Again, as we were looking at newspaper noticing requirements, this isn't strictly required under state law, and at this day and age, newspaper noticing is probably not the most effective way to get information out to people who are looking for information. I do want to highlight the proposal does retain signage and posting requirements, so there is still a requirement to put a sign on the site so that people walking by or who live in the neighborhood can see what's going on and get more information. The only thing that's really changing here is the requirement to post it in the, or to notice it in the newspaper public notice section. Also proposing to reduce newspaper notice on plats. Currently, our code reads that you have to notice 2 consecutive weeks in the newspaper. The state law requirement is only 1 notice required at least 10 days before a hearing. So the change would be that we just make that consistent with what the state law says, which would be that one time no later than 10 days before the hearing. Also retains the signage and the posting requirement in the case of plats, so there's no change on what people see on site. The other thing, we've had situations where the code did not provide any guidance on the placement of signs for large sites. So where should that sign go if the site is large enough that somebody might not realistically see a sign on one end of the site? So we're proposing to add some guidance there so that it's clearer what the requirements are. And the last thing is, in situations where the signage is impractical, or as has happened on occasion, where signage is damaged from vandalism or other weather events or things like that, we didn't have anything in our code that directed how to address those situations. We're proposing to introduce some language to make it a little clearer how we work with those situations. The development code amendments, again, this is amendments to Title 17. We're proposing to create a new section. This section would create a summary table so that there's one place people know they can go to see what the steps are of the project adoption process and at what points in that process they should expect to see notice to the community for those actions. So currently it's just text and you have to read through the entire thing to really understand how it all works together. The addition of that table we think will help to improve everybody's understanding. We're also moving our descriptions of the noticing types and the requirements related to those noticing into that new section. So I mentioned currently it's just a big wall of text. We're creating this special new section specific to noticing that will have the timeline and the requirements, and it will also have the descriptions of the different types of noticing so that it's all in one place. We're proposing to reduce noticing requirements for proposals that are exempt from SEPA. So when we amend our development code, the majority of the time, those are subject to SEPA because they can have an impact on the built environment. But when we're talking about procedural changes, anything that isn't directly going to impact the built environment, those are exempt from SEPA under state law. Our proposal is that for those, they tend to be administrative in nature or very minor. You know, we've brought paper cuts to you before, for example. Some of those paper cuts would be exempt from SEPA, would not be required to go through SEPA. Those types of changes are would be subject to reduced notice requirements under the proposal. And specifically, the reduced noticing requirements is that the agenda that goes out in the Plan Commission, to the Plan Commission mailing list would be sufficient for that. And then council notices on council meetings would be the form of notice for those. We're also proposing to specifically define the different types of notice. There wasn't anywhere in the current code that we lay out the different types of notice and then tell you exactly what that type of notice is expected to do. And then, as mentioned earlier, we're proposing to remove newspaper notice and codify best practices that are not currently included, including neighborhood council notice, which is currently in the code but isn't very well defined. We're proposing to introduce a definition for neighborhood council notice and include it with the section for all other types of notice so that it's just another type of notice that we provide. So the comprehensive plan amendments is very similar to the development code amendments, proposing that we add a table to describe all those steps and the requirements around them, provide specific definitions, also proposing to remove newspaper notice and then employ some of those best practices. We've had some questions about electronic notice. So as drafted, the language requires email notice through either the Plan Commission mailing list or a project-specific email list. For most of our, especially our larger projects, we actually keep a specific mailing list for people who want information about that project. That is one area where we would be required to provide notice. We also would like to start noticing our Plan Commission hearings on posted city social media channels. So when there is a Plan Commission hearing in the agenda, that information would also go out through all of our social media feeds. We are going to be updating the entirety of Title 17 as part of our code modernization process. You heard that last week and approved the contract. So we are moving forward with that, and we expect that process to kick off shortly, and then through the next year, we will be reviewing Title 17. That could include reconsideration of any of these or the addition of additional noticing requirements if we feel like there's something else that needs to be added here. And that is the proposal.
Any questions for Spencer? I have one for you on your updated noticing. Is there any way that if you're not going to be doing it in certain ways and you're finding new ways to reach out, do you communicate with the neighborhood chairs at all as to projects that are happening in their neighborhood?
So neighborhood councils are considered an agency for SEPA purposes in our code. So anytime there is a project proposed that has a SEPA element, the neighborhood council receives notice directly to their listed contact information.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's not proposed to change. That would stay in.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, Megan Duvall, the William and Christine Kiernan House nomination.
well, good afternoon. Easy one. All right. The William and Christine Kiernan House is located in the Southside Cable Addition at 620 West 16th Avenue. This addition was platted and named in 1891 for its proximity to the short-lived Spokane Cable Railway Company line developed to bring riders up Monroe Street to the South Hill. The cable-driven system ran every 7 minutes up 14th Avenue and turned east to Bernard Street, but was defunct within a few years, replaced by electric streetcars. The tract remained undeveloped until Kiernan invested and fulfilled the original intention of a residential neighborhood close to downtown businesses when the Kiernan Land Company purchased it in 1906. Kiernan had his own house constructed within the addition in 1908. The Kiernan House is an excellent example of a craftsman-style residence in the American four-square form and is eligible for the Spokane Register of Historic Places under Category C for architecture. The house may also be the work of William Ballard of the Ballard Plannery as a slightly modified version of Plan Number 182, which shows here. The house is 2.5 stories with a striking red and black Flemish bond brick pattern with gray brick accents on the porch columns of the full-width front porch. All wood windows remain and the house is exceptionally intact to its original appearance. The Kiernan House is integrated into into Spokane's landscape of basalt outcroppings and ponderosa pines. The exterior and interior reflect the reverence for nature underlying the craftsman style. The home is built with natural materials like wood, brass, iron, ceramic, tile, brick, and basalt fieldstone. The interior of the house includes original trim and unpainted woodwork in the elaborate vestibule with a built-in bench and complex paneling. Can't see it very well, but under the stairs, really cool geometric patterns. Beveled glass is included in the entryway foyer, as well as the formal room window transoms in a sunburn pattern. You can see those there. Geometric patterns of oak form the ceiling box beams in the formal living room, as well as mahogany wainscoting and the substantial light gray masonry fireplace in the center of the room on the western wall. 2 hammered metal lantern sconces with monk's face details flank the fireplace, and that same detail repeats on the 2 chandeliers and andirons in front of the fireplace. One of our landmarks commissioners looked at this house to buy, and she said she didn't buy it because the monk's faces freaked her out, and it was going to be nightmare fuel for her. So you never know. The dining room includes additional decorative leaded glass flanking the built-in buffet and the original light fixture. The kitchen has been recently remodeled with new cabinetry, light fixtures, tile, and appliances. And the main floor the main floor also includes a basement access stair and a powder room. Second floor includes 4 bedrooms and 2 additional bathrooms. There is a finished attic, and the basement still has the original wash sinks. The William and Christine Kiernan House is also eligible under Category B for its association with William Kiernan. After striking gold in the Klondike in 1898, Kiernan came to live in Spokane in 1905 and invest his new wealth. He purchased land to improve and subdivide Southside Cable Addition, where he built his own family home. He lived there with his wife Christine and daughter Isabel until 1913. During his time in Spokane, Kiernan founded the Kiernan Land Investment Company, the Kiernan Construction Company, Western Trust and Investment, and Western Mortgage Company. His endeavors in real estate included the development of 2 Spokane neighborhoods, the Pine Grove Terrace Addition on the North Monroe Street bluff, including Kiernan Avenue, so now you know where that came from, Kiernan Avenue, and Southside Cable Addition. He went on to be involved in impressive real estate development dealings in Los Angeles, actually bringing the Olmsted Brothers landscape firm down to LA, because he probably had met them here when they were doing the park plan for Spokane, and finished his career as president of the National City Bank of New York, which is now Citibank. So he was a pretty important guy. Kiernan's story exemplifies the 20th century American dream of entrepreneurship, contributing to the economic development of Spokane. So the Spokane Historic Landmarks Commission reviewed the nomination of the William and Christine Kiernan House and voted that it's eligible for listing on the Spokane Register of Historic Places. That concludes my report.
All right, always very educational. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
There you go, Kiernan Avenue, now you know.
Kiernan Avenue,
All right,
now we
thank you
know.
so much.
Okay, we are going to move 7 to the end so that we can get staff through. And so next up, we have the co-living housing code update with Brandon Whitmarsh.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Brandon Whitmarsh, and I will be presenting the co-living housing update intended to implement HB 1998, which was adopted by the legislature last year. So what is co-living? Co-living is a style of residential development in which sleeping units share kitchen facilities. So sleeping units are different from dwelling units in that they are not fully self-contained. They have a living area, sleeping area, but are not required to also have a bathroom or kitchen. Those can be provided communally. So examples are single-room occupancy, lodging or boarding houses, as well as dormitories in a private setting. So why are we talking about this? Like I said, we'll get into the state mandate after this slide as well, but it's also historically common, similar to middle housing in the early 1900s, extremely common in Spokane to support the growing population. Downtown, a majority of structures had co-living in the early 19th century, or 20th century. But also, according to the state, this type of housing is seen across the state to provide market rate housing that is affordable to households making as low as 50% AMI. So it's providing additional housing options, flexibility, and affordability without that public subsidy. So the state requirements are quite extensive, but I'll just quickly run through them. Mainly location, we're required to allow co-living anywhere where we allow 6 or more residential units on a lot. We cannot have any standards as to a minimum size of those units, type of unit, mix of units, those kinds of things, anything outside of what is required by the building code. For parking, there's limitations on how much parking we can require. Obviously, that's not a big deal here because we don't have the parking requirement in the first place. Density is another one. Where sleeping units within co-living development are required to be counted as a quarter of a dwelling unit for calculations of density. So density allowances would be 4 times that of the base zone if they were dwelling units. Aside from that, development and noticing standards, access to any of our affordable housing incentives, all of those kinds of things have to be allowed for any other similar scale residential development. As well as proportional impact fees when it comes to sewer connection fees, which, again, we're already covered on that front, so we don't have to worry. And the requirement is to adopt these standards by December 31st of this year. Plan Commission's recommendation that's in your packet is sticks very closely to the requirements of state law and doesn't expand outside of that. While they did discuss additional standards, they decided that in the interest of affordability that sticking directly to the state law was most appropriate. So that's their recommendation, aside from the no minimum open space requirement. That's the only additional thing that they added to the proposal outside of what's required by state law. And that was based mostly to allow for that flexibility and affordability of units. So required by state law and is also supported by a number of comprehensive plan goals and policies related to efficient land use and a mix of and diversity of like housing units and choice throughout the city. And I just want to point out, I sent a memo along with the packet there after some discussions with the Department of Commerce and internally with our current planners. There are a few minor amendments requested to make sure that the code itself does meet the intent as discussed with Plan Commission. There were some minor edits after the fact. Are there any questions for me?
Go ahead, yeah.
Well, could you just define co-housing?
So residential It's a residential style of development in which sleeping units, which are independently rentable and lockable, share kitchen facilities.
Okay, so we're not talking about co-owned buildings. We're talking about cooperatively run and living spaces.
Yeah, so it's not to say like co-housing like you might think of like Haystack Heights or something like that. That's not the intention here. It's simply the term defined by the state that largely encompasses what has historically been like rooming boarding houses, but potentially at a larger scale.
I would just be very curious if there are any studies that looks at how well these maintain habitability standards, because my immediate fear is that they probably don't, especially if you don't have a single point person who's, you know, in charge of all the spaces. I'm very concerned about that. So I'd just be interested to see what the data shows. But obviously, if the state's telling us we have to do something, not like we have much choice.
Yeah, so similar to other multi-unit residential where they might have common spaces that are potentially cleaned by an outside source or covered by the landlord. That's generally what has been seen to be kind of the avenue to address that. But again, there's no requirement in the code for that.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So these units are considered 0.25 dwelling unit?
Correct.
Is that what that was? So if I'm reading this right, if we're adding it to all single family, all residential areas except for residential agricultural, is that correct? So does that mean that we could have up to 24 people sleeping and living on a single family residence?
I guess that's also a caveat. So a lot of the incentives, whether it be parking or that density bonus or some of those things, don't change and affect how the city operates. On lots smaller than 2 acres, we already don't have a density maximum, so this wouldn't change that lack of maximum.
Well, I know, but I don't think you answered my question. Are we allowing then up to 24 people to be sleeping and essentially, all right, not just sleeping, but living in one facility in a single family zoned area?
If all standards are met, that could occur today already, just to clarify that. It's impractical on a standard lot to achieve that, but it is already allowed in a dwelling unit format. So I guess yes, but lots are generally not designed to actually achieve that.
Right.
That's why we see like a maximum of maybe 6 units in our R1 zones being put in on a standard residential lot, because it doesn't actually work once you have all of the like setbacks and lot coverage and all of those kinds of things in play.
So how do certain standards apply then if it's a single bedroom is counted as 0.25, right? So how would that be integrated into the design? So are we talking about like super small bedroom spaces, or are we just saying that it's a typical bedroom, but we're going to count it as 0.25?
Correct. So the requirement is to count it as 0.25. We cannot have a minimum that's larger than the building code for those sleeping units, which is 70 square feet. However, if you look at what is being developed across the state, the absolute minimum that I've seen in any jurisdiction who has allowed this consistently for a long time is around that 200 square foot mark, but a majority of them are the 250 to 300 square foot.
And I imagine for new development, there's going to be a lot of impacts from banks, you know, requiring certain things to get the loan. But if you're, you know, remodeling some existing, then there potentially is, you know, ways to get around that. So I could see, you know, I mean, could you do 10 bedrooms at 70 square feet inside a very small, you know, space, and you've effectively got a really tiny home with 10 people living there?
Correct. And I do want to point out that in some respects, we already allow, so like, I just want to make it clear that yes, this is a requirement and some of the code language is changing, but in practice, a lot of this is already allowed in all zones. Like Gonzaga has a number of brand new houses that are 12-bedroom houses with 1 kitchen, and they're renting out individual rooms. Like it can already be achieved because of over time, the state has limited what we can say as a household. The state, like, so like we've already expanded to a point where this isn't necessarily as much of a change as it sounds.
All right, so back to this then. So, and this is, I think in one of the slides it said this is required for us as we're calculating our land capacity and those kinds of things. Was that something I saw in there?
It was not, that was not specifically mentioned. However, this allowance, not in our code at the time, was not part of like that land capacity analysis, but would
it will be
potentially
moving forward.
Correct.
Yeah, and this is where I think I have some real hesitancy on this, which is, again, states mandating it. This is not us making this choice, right? So we had a big discussion between what's theoretically possible versus what's practically possible. And so you're saying, Councilmember Bingle, don't worry, it's impractical, it's not going to happen, but it's theoretically possible.
Correct.
And so in all future land capacity discussions, this is going to be something that says, well, it's like, well, technically we could put 24 units right here on this, 2,000 square foot lot, even though it's not like practical, it's theoretically possible. That's where I start to have some real concerns there. Again, not our implementation, but
I was going to say, I can leave that to Spencer, but.
Yeah, getting into land capacity analysis and the comp plan, this is sort of an apples and oranges. I mean, I understand the point you're trying to make, but the land capacity analysis is ultimately kind of a totally different topic that we're not assuming 24 units on single-family lots, for example, in the land capacity analysis. So,
but it's theoretically possible.
yeah, but we don't assume that in the land capacity analysis.
Okay, well, we can have a separate discussion later because I'm like real peaked on this, so we can talk about it later. But
Okay.
cool. Any other questions? Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Yep. Okay, next up, Don, Ariel, and team. We've got a series of things, so you can just come on down in whatever order you want.
And Paradis, just confirming it's the CHHS presentation for all? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so jumping to inclement weather. So just for a quick background, the SMC was updated in July to change the inclement weather activation criteria to indices instead of actual temperature. So in the case of winter, if the wind chill is predicted to be 32 degrees or lower, we will activate inclement weather beds. Same if we're for the heat index, it'd be 95 degrees or higher for 2 consecutive days or more. Generally, we wouldn't activate the beds because it's usually not 95 degrees or higher in the middle of the night. But anyway, and then for the air quality, it would be activated if it reaches 201 or higher as well. So on the left, you can see that there are, these are the current inclement weather beds we have through the end of this year. So it's about 89 beds across 4 sites. We released an RFP in July of this year requesting proposals for inclement weather beds for 2026. We received 3, only 2 of them were recommended for funding. The other one was requesting the beds to be fully funded year-round regardless of activation. So we are recommending these 3 locations here. It is about 100 and, let me see how many beds it was. You can see the total beds listed there, but, and it would be for a total of, let's see here, 650,000, and it would be 1590 funds. We do have additional capacity to take more applications, so we are planning on re-releasing the RFP with the hopes of getting more, but for now, we're just seeking approval for these locations here in these beds for 2026. Are there any questions on inclement weather?
So when you say you could increase the beds, that funding would be 1590 funding, or what funding would that come from?
1590. Any other questions on inclement weather? Okay.
Just one point of clarification on your question, Council President. That is simply because the original allocation will not be fully expended with the beds recommended. So it's not for additional funding, it's to seek additional beds that would be similar values or levels to last year and still be within our original budget. It's just that those 2 proposals alone will not spend the entirety of the inclement weather funds that were already allocated.
Moving on to scattered sites. So in October, we released an RFP for scattered site operators, and this would be for 18-month contracts starting in January of 2026. These are the three recommendations that are coming forward. It would be for a total of 160 beds for 5.46 million. It'd be across about 8 sites. Are there any questions on that? It would be funded with state and local dollars.
So what local dollars are being used and which of those projects are being funded with our local dollars?
That part is unclear so far. I think they're working through that, but leadership has any additional input on that?
At this point, the only local funds that would be included are HaHa funds, so the document recording fee revenues.
And which projects are those funding? All of them?
I would have to check with Skylar to confirm, but we typically try and limit how many fund sources are in each contract for compliance. And we haven't drafted these yet, so I'd have to ask him where he plans to allocate those.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions on scattered sites?
I don't have any questions on this. Thank you, Paradise. I don't have any questions on the scattered site. I guess I just really question the 18 months since we're overlapping bienniums and how that works as funding into the next biennium when that budget hasn't really been established yet. So you can help me with that, Dawn.
Yeah, so this is actually aligning with the state's budget, which goes through this time frame. And these are predominantly state resources, so it's aligning with the state's budget. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up on that, but we are using ours, so how do we reconcile the local dollars in piggybacking off of what Council President said?
So we book those document recording fees into our budget within each annual cycle. So there's no local funds that are not, there's no like general fund, for example, going to the scattered site programs. It's just DRF, which is a continuous revenue source that we get projections from, and then Skylar budgets accordingly, and the state funds, which align with this time frame. So you would see that same HaHa, it's not the totality of our HaHa funds, but you would see that reflected in the next city biennium budget as well, but accounted for in these contract expenditures. I'm not sure I'm explaining that well, but it's, the vast majority of these funds run on this timeline, and the HaHa would be in each individual budget for the city.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a request to approve the CHHS Board of Directors recommendations for eviction or homelessness prevention recommendations. So back in October, council authorized us to accept funds from the Spokane County by way of the Department of Commerce to sub-grant these funds out. So we issued a competitive RFP, which ran August 15th to September 30th. The CHHS board reviewed the Human Services Committee of the CHHS Board evaluated these applicants and made the following recommendations. The total award was $3,462,099. 15% of that was held by the city for administration of the program and system coordination. So the funding recommendations there total up 85% of the award. In the far right column, the city has presented the total program cost. What this indicates is how much of the program is funded by city sub-granted dollars, whereas if there's a smaller percentage, that means there are additional funds being leveraged outside of our dollars. So we are requesting approval of these grants, contracts. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So have we hired the rental eviction navigator person? Is that person on board? Who's navigate? Is there a navigator attached to this?
That's unrelated. These are all state pass-through funds. It's a commerce program titled Homeless Prevention, and this is just the resources associated with those state dollars. So separate from our local landlord mitigation work, which I think is the position you're referring to, which has not been funded to my knowledge in that budget.
All right, thank you.
Of these groups right here, have we clawed any money back for similar work in previous years?
Have we clawed back money for?
Yeah, granted dollars that we granted out, and then they weren't able to get them out the door soon enough, so we clawed them back and gave them to somebody else. Have we done that with any of these providers?
So if we've de-obligated funding from them, yes, we have de-obligated funds.
And which groups?
So we deobligated funding from Nuestras Raíces.
Okay. Anybody else, or just Nuestras Raíces?
None that are represented here.
Okay. I guess my follow-up question on that is, what do we think the capacity is for them to get those dollars out this time as opposed to previously?
That's a great question. So a lot of it comes down to providing TA and capacity building support upfront. And the original contracts that started in 2023 to 25 had kind of a rough, rocky start, but we've been working pretty consistently with their teams to have this. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you not able to hear that? Okay. So we provided a lot of technical assistance up front, and they were able to successfully spend down the dollars that that were remaining in their contract after deobligation last year, so providing that capacity building support up front.
Okay. Any other questions?
And again, the time frame for these funds to be allocated is through?
2027. So this will follow the county and also the state budget.
All right.
Thank you.
No more questions? Thank you very much.
And do I have access to change slides?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I'm bringing to you the home ARP funding recommendations, and then on the next slide, it'll be the 1590 housing-related services funding recommendations. This is our last allocation of home ARP. Remember, we all received that back in 2021, and this is the last RFP to go out for those funds. We received roughly $2,067,000 in requests for $766,000. So they had to cut, what, $1.2 million out of those requests. These are the projects that the the Human Services Committee and then the CHHS Board reviewed and recommended for funding. You'll see the city's percent of total cost on the far right-hand side. We did require leveraging in both of these RFPs, and we required that the total city support for the project be less than 50% from all funding sources that the city oversees. Any questions about the home ARP allocation?
I have one again. Of these groups, who has been awarded funds from us in the past? And again, of that group, have we had to deobligate any funds from them?
So with home ARP, we primarily saw new applicants. And I will say with the 1590 behavioral health and housing related services, we saw primarily new applicants. We did have some in 1590 that we have seen before. Cup of Cool Water received a CDBG allocation, but it has not been implemented yet because we are still waiting for that HUD agreement to be signed before we can implement those CDBG allocations, so no harm, no foul there. And Northwest Fair Housing Alliance has received funds from us in the past, and we've had no issues with their spend down or their completion of their projects. Partners with Family and Children, I believe they may have received CDBG in the past with no concerns either.
All right, thank you very much.
And then this is our HEART Fund, or 1590 Health and Housing Related Services recommendation. This also included behavioral health in this funding round. We had $2.5 million in funding available through the competitive RFP, and we received $9 million. It was like $9,800,000, a little over that in funding requests. So quite a bit of that had to be denied. Quite a few of those requests had to be denied. These are the applications that were recommended for funding by the Human Services Committee and the CHHS Board. Again, you'll see the city's percent of the total cost. Again, this had that leveraging requirement that no more than 50% of the total cost of the project could come from city sources. And almost all of these were partially funded. I think there were one or two, maybe three that were fully funded, and they were the smallest requests. Because once you start to decrease a request in size, it becomes harder to do partial funding without pretty significantly lowering the impacts of the services. Any questions on this one?
The SRHD program right there, the 100,000, what was that for?
So it's an ID program in which they'll be working with folks that are coming out of homelessness or currently homeless to gather all of their documentation so that they can apply for rental assistance, they can apply for jobs, they can apply for different types of services that provide housing stability over time.
Very cool. Of the others, I mean, there's a pretty wide range of like dollars per person served. What was our sort of our requirements on that, or what were we looking for on dollars per person here? Did we think that at all?
So dollar per person served on behavioral health and housing-related services is kind of a tough measurement to use because the services change per type of project. So in some of these cases, they may have been providing very simple services that they can move a lot of folks through in a very quick time frame, and to smaller numbers where they may have been like very intentionally doing high impact case management where they wouldn't be able to serve very many within a short frame. So you have to look at it a little bit differently when you're looking at services, both behavioral health and housing related, in what will the long-term impact be. And that's really, I believe, how that was viewed versus over that per unit or per person service cost.
I have one more, but if anybody, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for updating us on all of these, and to the CHHS board for reviewing all of the applications. I think knowing that there's this integration of behavioral health and housing with these funds moving forward, one thing I would like to see as we get more outcome data is whether or not it makes sense to continue to fund a lot of organizations, knowing that we have so many great nonprofits doing a lot of very similar work in the community, or if these dollars from the city would be better spent truly focusing on one or two of those programs that are having a high yield on the impact. So I think just in future years, something for the CHHS board to be aware of and for CHHS as a department to keep an eye out for.
Thank you.
I would say I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I do really like the idea that no more than 50% can be funded by the city. We were talking about this earlier. I appreciate that we're not the sole funding source for the programs. Again, bringing in their own dollars, I think, is a really big deal. So thank you for that on that. My last question is, I've never heard of Take Up the Cause. What's Take Up the Cause?
So Take Up the Cause is an affordable, well, okay, so I view them as an affordable housing nonprofit organization, but they probably are involved in more that I'm just not aware of. They are doing a fourplex for us with some 15, I guess it's not 1590, it's home funds, and then they also own several different affordable housing properties. This particular project that they've requested funding for here will be providing some supportive services in projects that weren't set up to have supportive services, but they have a high number of low AMI households within those projects. So it's a high needs sort of a population that they're serving. They took over a lot of the projects that IERR. Are any of you familiar with that organization? It was one of our CHODOs, our community housing development organizations that the city worked with for a number of years. So they took over some of those projects, and then also they've, under their own Take Up the Cause name, have developed additional affordable housing projects.
They also do a lot of affordable home buying programs, so they're housed out of the MLK Community Center and do a lot of work in the East Central community as well.
Great, thank you very much. All right.
Chair?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that everything for us? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Before we adjourn, I'm sorry I didn't get this to you sooner. On the consent items, it's number 4, an ordinance relating to animal control regulations. I don't think we've ever had an ordinance that was on consent before, so
Sure.
if we could, Mr.
we can
Wright
pull it
or
up.
Councilmember Cathcart could just speak a little bit to what that
Sure.
is.
Well, we have one more before then,
I'm sorry.
but,
Okay, go
but
ahead.
we'll do it because we still have to talk about Councilmember Dillon's, the ordinance
yes,
adopting
thank
a
you.
rental eviction diversion program, and then we can talk.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll just jump in because I think it does dovetail with this discussion we've been having. And yeah, I appreciate the changing the agenda to make it fit. So this is a fun little ordinance bring forward that I think is really complementary to a lot of the information that we just discussed around eviction prevention, funds. I think that ultimately the goal of this is to develop kind of a one-stop shop program through the city of Spokane for people to be able to access eviction prevention, rental assistance information. Just as an example, if you were to Google eviction prevention in Spokane, you would come up with a lot of different resources and be sent through kind of a maze. And so really for us to be able to have that resource, I do see this as something that is really beneficial to tenants and landlords, and helps landlords with the information available for them to access eviction prevention funds, including having that information as part of a lease rental agreement and on the notice of eviction. There is one section in here, I've already been in discussion with some of the policy folks and Dawn about changing, and I didn't catch this before, but it's about the eviction pre-filing early dispute resolution. So under Section 3, Title A, it is not the expectation that the diversion program would continue if there's insufficient funding available to operate the program. So I think that this should continue even if there isn't funding, because while there might not be eviction prevention funds per se, there's still a lot of different services available, such as mediation, attorneys, different kinds of consultation. So that could still be part of that navigation that folks have as a resource, and that wouldn't necessarily mean that the program in and of itself isn't working just because those eviction prevention funds aren't there for people to access. So we'll be making some changes to that. But yeah, ultimately, I think this comes down to trying to get people to these funds. I know, your questions about kind of how some funds were deobligated, and last year we talked about this program that there wasn't a quick spend down of funds, and it wasn't necessarily because of any issues with the team, but just getting information out there. So I see this as us taking some ownership in the program and helping get more resources out to folks, especially considering some of the data that 40% for the second year in a row in Spokane County of evictions involve people with disabilities. And so I do see by being able to have some of this information as part of a rental and lease agreement, really kind of helping landlords, I think, proactively offer these programs, I think will be really, really beneficial. So that's what the ordinance is trying to do. Any questions? Go ahead.
Who would be staffing this program?
It would be CHHS. Mainly, yeah, go ahead.
And they've identified that they have capacity.
Yeah, they said they'd be able to make it work. So we worked with Dawn in crafting some of the language here. Yeah.
And that kind of went to my question. So there's no budgetary impact for city staff on this?
No.
To implement it?
You cracked the code, more work without costing any more. Well done. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this before we move on to the animal control? All right. Councilmember Cathcart, Mr. Wright.
Thank you. I will have to defer to Councilmember Cathcart for some of the background, but my understanding is we're amending our code, which currently has euthanasia standards that the county has found objectionable. Is that the best way to put it? And we are entering into a new phase and a new contract with the county and scraps. And apparently this code change is something they would like to see. My only concern, I would like to have legal review this, if that's okay with Councilmember Cathcart, only because I have some drafting questions about it. But
legal has pretty much written it, so just
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of background, and we'll talk more when this gets briefed. There's still a lot of back and forth discussions between the city administration and the county on this, so more to come on the details. But your assessment is correct as to why this is before us.
All right, well, if there's nothing else here, anything for the good of the order? Committee reports? I guess we can do that. All right. Our Housing and Homelessness Manager, Nicolette Ochiltree.
All right. So I wanted to show you one thing that I've been working on. Jacoby, Chris, and I had spent considerable amount of time with CHHS trying to get consistent on how things move through the council process, which can be incredibly complicated. And so I'm going to start with this first one to show you this little mapping. Because it's the one that I think will be most digestible. But I'm going to draw your attention to the circle first, which is just kind of a crash course in the RFP process, from the RFP going out, the applications being submitted to CHHS, the Affordable Housing or RFP Committee scoring those, and then making a recommendation to the board, and then the board voting on those recommendations, and then it comes to you, right? And there's a lot of stuff that goes into before that process. But once it gets to us, and once it gets to you guys and has to move through the process, it also can be kind of complicated. And so in order to achieve something that's consistent and follows the law, so that we're all following the rules, we tried to break it down like this. And so you might be wondering why I've started with, is the funding source special revenue fund? And that's because Section 12 of the charter says that all appropriations need to be made via ordinance unless it's from a special revenue fund. And so with this decision tree, we could say yes, and then that will generate the need for a resolution. No, then it's going to need an SBO. And so each of these elements that are there, for example, in the process summary, we had City Legal look at this with all the justifications from the charter, the RCW, SMC, and council rules to make sure each piece that we're saying is accurate. And they sent it back with a thumbs up. And so hopefully that this will make it a little bit easier for the department, both CHHS and the council office, to not only be consistent, but make sure that we're following the rules on all these pieces. Can you go to the next one? So similarly, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. And then, so this one's just for plans and reports. So examples here are like the fair housing plan, the consolidated plan, just to name a couple. So the question here really truly is whether or not they want council approval via resolution, or if they're just trying to update council through info only. And I should say that, you can go to the next one, that with each of these where it says required documents, those will link to a template of that document. So it's required documents resolution, it'll go to the resolution template so that make it easier for them to make sure that they've got all those documents in place. Okay, so this one's slightly more complicated, which is why I didn't start with this one. But similarly, you might have wondered why with the RFP recommendations we started out the way we did. Well, that's usually because it is a matter of a grant, and we've already accepted that grant, and it's already gone through this process, right? And so similarly, you have this decision tree here that'll make it a little bit easier, and so that we don't have to sort of wonder and scratch our heads, hey, last time this came through, it came through as a resolution, this time it came through as an SBO. Now we've got something that we can point to that is well vetted by, again, the RCW, SMC, council rules. Now, for all the things that, and if you're interested, I can send you the version that has all the citations of each of those rules, because that's where you guys can come in. If it's a council rule that's governing part of that process and that process summary, that's something you guys might be able to change. If it's a charter, it's going to require a charter amendment to change, right? And so some of these rules and process pieces are a little bit more fungible. And hopefully as you guys get to the end of the year, when you're doing your council rules updates, you can look at these things about how you can make that process a little bit more streamlined and where you can make changes and where you can't without going to a vote of the people. Are there any questions? That was pretty much what I wanted to show you guys today. If not on that, I'll just say one more thing.
I don't think there are. Go ahead.
Okay. Hopefully this will be a really useful tool. I'm excited. I wish Ariel was still in the audience. I think that she's going to be excited that her team gets this to make it a lot easier. I was going to mention that since we haven't had a meeting since the last urban experience meeting at the Housing Action Subcommittee, I wanted to give a heads up that at the next meeting, we're going to be doing a discussion of Councilman Dillon's ordinance, and also getting a presentation from Catherine Alexander on resilient housing, and then going over a couple key pieces some of the members had about questions they had on the emergency ordinance and some of the recent RFP recommendations and how that all kind of fits together. So, anything else? Any questions? Right?
All right, what's next? Housing Action Subcommittee. I think we just heard there was no meeting last month. Okay. Neighborhood Council Work Group.
They are meeting December 3rd. The last time they met was September 24th, and I don't remember what we talked about.
Okay. CHHS Board.
I don't have any updates that weren't already given.
Perfect. Community Assembly.
Oh, my favorite committee, right there. So we had our meeting last Thursday. They elected some new positions, especially on the executive team. I was informed that all the executive team, if I'm not mistaken, comes from District 1 on the Community Assembly Board. So that's a whole new shift. We talked about some new things of how we could expand on community assembly, especially by adding an educational component to community assembly to really delve into some government and how things work in the city and provide some other opportunities for things that come up that are not on the agenda that probably needs to be discussed. I have to acknowledge that that committee probably has 95% attendance at every community assembly meeting. So I want to thank those people who not only serve in their neighborhoods, but actually come to community assembly meetings and then serve again. So a big shout out to all those volunteers.
All right, the Comp Plan Amendments Docketing Committee. I don't think that met.
We don't meet when we're doing a comp plan update,
Right.
and you're on that. So.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we met, right? Okay, I don't think we met for a while, but Human Rights Commission.
No big updates for that group, working on planning for 2026 and ongoing discussions just around worries and concerns related to our unhoused community during weather events.
Okay. Plan Commission.
The last meeting was October 22nd. They had a number of workshops since the last time we discussed here. They looked at the 2446 alternatives. They did a status report of their EIS, which is expected to be completed in December. They also discussed changing land use categories. So I'm not sure what they did with that. They also had hearings on the SIP, which is a capital improvement program. That's a 6-year rolling list of projects. There's an unfunded section and a funded section. Super interested if you're looking to see what's coming up. And then they had the hearing on the co-living where they give us the recommendation. They had a special meeting on October 29th with the Climate Resilience and Sustainability Board to talk about climate policy integration with the comp plan. And they're meeting next on November 12th.
All right. I lost my spot there. Oh, Downtown Bid Board meets every other month, and we meet on the 20th this month, so I have an update after that. DSP?
Yeah, we had the policy committee meeting the other day, and they had a presentation from the mayor and John Snyder to talk about the lot tax. So very spirited conversation around that. And also a lot of conversation around just what their general priorities are locally and at the state level.
Okay, East Bragg Bid Board.
Didn't meet last month, but we did have the update from Amanda Beck about some of the discrepancy in the rate charges and how we're going to fix those.
Okay. GMA Steering Committee of Elected Officials.
Last met on September 17th, discussing people's progress on the land capacity analysis. The next meeting is scheduled for November 19th. They haven't sent an...
December 10th is the next meeting.
I'm sorry, December 10th, but they haven't sent an invite or an agenda out yet, so I don't know what we'll be talking about.
Yeah, just to let folks know, so December 10, right now, 9 a.m. is the next meeting. And because I can, as chair, I've set that at the Northeast Community Center. And so if folks would like to observe, they're certainly welcome to do so.
All right, Library Board. Councilwoman Klitsky.
I'm sorry.
Library Board.
I didn't even have that on my list. My list is a little bit of a mess today. We looked at the budget, and council has received the budget that the library adopted.
So question, I'm getting a lot of emails, I'm sure everybody else is, about funding there. Can you give us an update?
So I can characterize what I understand of what they're thinking with the budget. The framing of the budget that we received is that that is what it would take to continue the services that they currently have to the community. So that is their status quo budget, and they feel like it is their responsibility to let us know that that's what it takes to have the services that we provide currently.
I would just say that I think in response to the library choosing to send out some of the information that they did, I have requested that we have a detailed budget session just on the library finances, because I think that the email that went out was quite incomplete.
Was not discussed at the board meeting.
All right. Council President?
Thank you. More budget discussions to come.
That's right, okay. Park Board, if you can hear in my voice, we were sick during the last one, and it's hanging on a little bit, so I missed that. Executive Committee hasn't met in years. Spokane Arts.
Yeah, we had an update, last Monday at Finance about the current contract, some of the discussions that are happening commensurate to the budget, and then we will be having the renewal of the Spokane Arts contract coming up.
All right. Any others? I think that does it for us, right? Wonderful. All right. Well, without anything else for the good of the order, we'll adjourn this meeting.